See, there is heartwood and sapwood. Heartwood is the hard, uh, you have to know the differences between heartwood and sapwood. Heartwood is also called as duramen. Sapwood is called as alburnum. So that is the first thing that you have to know about the other names of heartwood and sapwood. See, if you look into this slide, okay, so the darker colored wood at the center of the log of this wood, so we call that as heartwood. They are darker in color, and they are highly lignified, dark brown in color. And towards the periphery surrounding the heartwood is the sapwood. So heartwood is the hard part of it, dead tissues they have, hard, dead, dark brown colored, highly lignified. So they are hard, dark brown colored, and highly lignified. Lignin deposition is more, and non-functional part of the secondary xylem of old trees. So these are non-functional part of the secondary xylem of old trees. So we call this as the heartwood, and this heartwood is also another name is duramen. The dark color in this heartwood is due to the deposition of various organic compounds like tannins, resins, oils, gums, aromatic substances, essential oils. So all these are the reason for the darker color in this heartwood. So the dark color is due to the deposition of organic compounds like tannins, resins, oils, gums, aromatic substances. Then they are also due to the deposition of essential oil. So these substances make this hardwood very hard and durable and resistant. So these substances make the hardwood hard, durable, and resistant to the attack of termites and microorganisms and insects. So that is the nature of it. So why are they dark in color? They are dark in color due to the deposition of various substances, organic compounds like tannins, resins, oils, gums, aromatic substances, essential oils. So these substances make the wood, the secondary xylem, that is a non-functional secondary xylem, very hard, durable, and resistant to the attack of microorganisms and insects. What is the exact function of hardwood? It is mechanical support to the stem. It provides the mechanical support to the stem. So it is almost the core of the wood. So it provides mechanical support to the stem. So that is a few points regarding this. So sapwood is the peripheral region of the secondary xylem. So it is living and lighter in color. See this part of the wood outside the heartwood, this part of the wood we call it as sapwood. Another name for sapwood is alburnum. Heartwood, it is at the center of the log of wood. They are the dead secondary xylem, non-functional secondary xylem, which have deposition of tannin, lignins. They are hard because of highly lignified they are. So they have deposition of organic compounds like tannin, gums, resins, oils. So all of these make this hardwood very hard and durable, okay, and prevent the attack from insects also. Whereas the sapwood is the peripheral region of the secondary xylem. Sapwood is also called as alburnum. It is living tissue. It is a functional secondary xylem, and they are lighter in color. So when compared to the hardwood, they are lighter in color. Sapwood is lighter in color. What is the function of sapwood? It is involved in the conduction of water and minerals from root to leaf. So it is involved in the conduction of water and minerals from root to leaf. That is the function of the sapwood. Whereas the function of heartwood was it provided mechanical strength to the uh, stem. So whereas the sapwood, it is involved in the conduction of water and minerals from the root to the leaf. So they are involved in conduction of water and minerals from root to the leaf. So remember about this hardwood and sapwood. So you should also take up the assignment differences between heartwood and sapwood. Make two columns. Even during examination, when they ask you regarding the differences, you should make two columns and write the uh, relevant opposing points on either side of it. Okay, so don't write it in the sentence form. Always go it in the almost the column forms of it. One column you'll have the heartwood, another column is the sapwood. So you write exact points which are contrasting to it. And if it is 2 marks, write more than 4 or 5 points. Always it would be better if you write more. Okay, the lesser you have, you might lose marks. Even if one sentence is wrong, you might lose mark. So be prepared for this hardwood and sapwood also. 2 mark question, you have to write the differences between hardwood and sapwood. See, sapwood is the peripheral region of the secondary xylem. It is living and lighter in color. Function of sapwood is it is involved in the conduction of water and minerals from root to leaf. That is the function of this sapwood. Now, the secondary growth in case of cork cambium. See, I told you that one secondary growth is within the stele. We called it as stellar secondary growth. Now, extra stellar secondary growth is there is a secondary growth in the cortex also. It is not just there is a secondary growth within the stele, which involves the formation of secondary xylem, secondary phloem, secondary medullary rays, but there is also secondary growth in the cortical region. Okay, so in the cortical region, as the stem continues to increase in girth due to the activity of our vascular cambium, the outer cortical and epidermal layer gets broken. So the outer cortical and epidermal layer gets broken. If you see the epidermal layer breaking up at certain points because they are not able to keep pace with the increase in girth of stem, and they break at certain points, the outer epidermis layer, and that break we call it as lenticels. Okay, lenticels are by the rupture of the epidermis layers. So you should remember about that. And they have parenchyma cells below this ruptured epidermis. And these openings, we call it as lenticels. So remember about lenticels. So the it is to be replaced to provide new protective cell layers. Okay, so the outer cortical and epidermal layer, they get broken, which is to be replaced by new protective cell layers. Hence, another meristematic tissue called as cork cambium or phellogen develops within the cortex. So one layer of the parenchyma cells within the cortex, which is permanent tissue, they again become meristematic tissue. So this newly formed meristematic tissue from permanent tissue. One of your friend used that term. So permanent tissue de-differentiates to form cork cambium. So they de-differentiate to form cork cambium. Another name for cork cambium is phellogen. So I always remember phellogen as PG. So I write PG in the center and I write above PH and below PD. It is PD, not PD. Okay. So PH and PD. So the cork cambium towards the outer side, they are going to produce phellum or cork, and towards the inner side, they produce the uh, the phellodum PD. PD. So the phellodum is produced inside the cork cambium. Towards the inner side, it cuts off phellodum or secondary cortex. Towards the outside, it cuts off phellum or cork. See, all this three layer, phellum, phellogen, phylloderm. Together we call it as periderm. So all the three layers we call it as uh, periderm. Okay. So as the stem continues to increase in girth due to the activity of vascular cambium, the outer cortical and the epidermis layers, they get ruptured or broken. It is to be replaced by new protective cell layers. So there is hence another meristematic tissue develops within the cortex, and we call that newly formed secondary meristem as cork cambium. Another name for cork cambium is phellogen. So phellogen cuts off cells towards the outer side, which we call it as phellum or cork, and they produce cut off cells towards the inner side, which we call it as phelloderm, or we also call it as secondary cortex. So phellogen is a couple of layers thick. It is made up of narrow, thin-walled, and nearly rectangular cells. Okay, so phellogen or cork cambium, you should remember it as. So phellogen cuts off cells on both the sides. The outer cells differentiate into secondary cortex. We call it as phelloderm, and the cells of secondary cortex are parenchymatous. So outer side, the cells differentiate into cork or phellum, and inner side they develop into secondary cortex or phelloderm. Okay, so inner to the cortex, they develop into the secondary cortex, which is also called as phelloderm. I always, as I told you, I remember it as PG, phellogen. I put an arrow mark above. So towards the outer side, they produce PH. PH is nothing but phellum or cork, and towards inner side I put an arrow mark and write it as PG, PD or PD I was calling it as. That is nothing but secondary cortex or phelloderm. That is how you remember it. So in the cortex, a layer of parenchyma cells, they de-differentiate to form secondary meristem, and we call that as cork cambium or phellogen. So cork cambium or phellogen, towards the outside, they cut off cells, which is going to form the phellum or cork, and towards the inner cells, they are going to differentiate into secondary cortex or phelloderm. So the cells of secondary cortex are parenchymatous. So you can see here, so when we say bark, all the living from the living phloem to the periderm, so they are considered as bark. So the secondary phloem, then you have this uh, secondary cortex, or we also call it as phelloderm, phellogen, cork cambium, and cork we also call it as phellum or cork. So when you say bark, it includes from the tissues from the living phloem to the cork. So all of them we call it as bark. Okay. So that is what you can notice in this diagram. See, the cork is impervious to water. They do not allow water to enter inside. The cork, or another name for cork, is phellum. Why they are not why are they impermeable to water or impervious to water? Because they have suberin deposition in the cell wall. Because of the suberin deposition in the cell wall, they are impermeable to water. So phellogen, phellum, and phelloderm are collectively known as periderm. Many times they have asked this even for NEET examination. Periderm consists of, so A phellogen, B phellum, C phelloderm, D all of these. So what should be your answer? All of these. Okay. So phellogen, phellum, and phelloderm together they constitute the periderm. Collectively they are called, all these three layers are called as periderm. So due to the activity of cork cambium, the pressure builds up on the remaining layers peripheral to phellogen, and that is outside of phellogen. So the uh, pressure builds up, and ultimately these layers die, and they are going to slough off. Slough off means they get removed. Okay, so that is what you have to remember. Due to the activity of cork cambium, so the pressure builds up on the remaining layers. What is the remaining layers? So the remaining layers peripheral to phellogen are the cork or phellum, and ultimately these layers die and slough off. Okay, so bark is a, now the definition of bark. Bark is a non-technical term that refers to all tissues from secondary phloem to periderm. So many times they give this for NEET. So the tissues which are present, the tissues away from secondary xylem, that is, it includes secondary phloem and periderm, is termed as. So it is bark. The tissues exterior to the vascular cambium. What are the tissues exterior to the vascular cambium? The secondary phloem. The primary phloem would have got crushed. You already know it. The tissues secondary to the exterior to the vascular cambium are secondary phloem and periderm. So these are called as bark. So bark is of two types. Early bark, it is soft in nature. It is formed early in the season. Late bark, it is formed towards the end of the season, and they are harder in texture. Okay, the early bark, it is formed early in the season, and late bark, it is, or harder bark, it is formed towards the end of the season. So you should know bark is a non-technical term that refers to tissues exterior to the vascular cambium. So exterior to the vascular cambium is secondary phloem and periderm. You already know what is periderm. Periderm is uh, composed of cork, cork cambium, and secondary cortex. Together we call it as periderm. Or you can use the technical names of that. Cork is also called as phellem, phellogen, and the phelloderm. Together they constitute periderm. Okay, so there are two types of bark. The early bark, which is softer in nature, it is formed early in the season. Late bark or harder bark, it is formed towards the end of the season. So I was still speaking about lenticels. So at certain region, phellogen cuts off. So the epidermis ruptures. Okay, that openings are called as lenticels. So at certain regions, the phellogen is cork-cambium. They cut off closely arranged parenchymatous cells. So for 2 marks, they have asked many times this diagram of lenticel. So the ruptured epidermis, this parenchyma, which is cut off the phellogen, we call it as complementary tissue or complementary cells, these parenchymatous cells. And you can notice this cork cambium, secondary cortex. So the phellogen cuts off closely arranged parenchymatous cells on the outer side. So closely arranged parenchymatous cells on the outer side, which is nothing but we call it as the phellum or cork. These cells are going to rupture epidermis, forming a lens-shaped opening called as lenticels. So there is transpiration from lenticels. Nearly 5% of transpiration is from lenticels, and we call it as lenticular transpiration. Nearly 90%, 85 to 90% of transpiration is from leaf. We call that as foliar transpiration. So by the damage of cuticle, if there is transpiration, we call it as cuticular transpiration. And even from the stem, there is transpiration through this lenticels. So nearly 5% of transpiration is through the lenticels or lenticular transpiration. How are lenticels formed? So these cells are formed by the rupture of epidermis, which forms a lens-shaped opening called as lenticels. So within this lenticels, you find the parenchymatous tissues which are produced by the cork cambium, and we call this parenchymatous tissue below this lenticel, we call them as complementary tissue or complementary cells. So lenticels occurs in most woody trees. That is where the secondary growth has taken place. You find this lenticels are occurring in the woody trees. What is the function of lenticels? So similar to stomata, lenticels permit gaseous exchange between the outer atmosphere and the internal tissue of the stem. They also undergo transpiration, which we call it as lenticular transpiration. They have not mentioned that. So you have to remember about this. So they also undergo this lenticular transpiration. So what are lenticels? At certain region, the phellogen or cork cambium cuts off parenchymatous cells on the outer side. So which we call it as phellum or cork. So these parenchymatous cells, they create pressure, and that brings about the rupture of epidermis to form a lens-shaped opening, which we call it as lenticel. So lenticels are occurring in woody trees. The functions of lenticels are they permit gaseous exchange between the outer atmosphere and the internal tissue of the stem. So that is permitted by this uh, lenticels. So lenticels permit gaseous exchange between the outer atmosphere and the internal tissue of the stem. So that is what you can notice in this lenticel. So they also are going to undergo transpiration. So through lenticels, transpiration occurs, which we call it as lenticular transpiration. Nearly 5% of total transpiration is by lenticular transpiration. So you should remember that point also, even though they have not mentioned here. So you have to write that. Okay. The last part of our discussion for this chapter is secondary growth in dicot roots. Already I've told you the dicot root, the structure of it. So they have a radial vascular bundle, tetrarch condition, exarch, that is protoxylem is towards the periphery, metaxylem is towards the pith. So all this structure of a primary root, that is before secondary growth, you know about it. So the xylem is in one radii, alternating to that is the phloem. So you have tetrarch to exarch arrangement of xylem and phloem together. So you have that condition. So now the pericycle is going to produce lateral roots and cambium. I told you. So in dicot roots, the vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin. Whereas in case of dicot stem, partially it was primary in origin. See, the intrafascicular cambium was primary meristem. Interfascicular cambium was later formed, so we call it a secondary meristem. So, whereas in case of dicot roots, the vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin. Unlike in case of dicot stem, they are partially primary in origin and partially secondary in origin, the vascular cambium. Intrafascicular cambium is primary in origin, that is, they are primary meristem, and the interfascicular cambium is secondary in origin or secondary meristem. So partially they are primary in origin, partially they are secondary in origin, whereas in dicot root, the vascular bundle or the vascular cambium, sorry, it is completely secondary in origin. So they are secondary meristem. It originates from the tissue located just below the phloem bundles. That is a portion of pericycle, the above the protoxylem, they are going to form a complete and continuous wavy ring. Okay, so this it originates from the tissue located just above the phloem bundles, a portion of pericycle, that is above the protoxylem. They are going to form a complete and continuous wavy ring. So they are going to form a complete and continuous wavy ring. So you can notice different stages of secondary growth in a typical dicot root. So there is a formation of vascular bundle, a complete and a continuous wavy ring is formed from the pericycle. Okay, so above the protoxylem they are, so they form a complete and continuous wavy ring. It later becomes circular. Here you can notice it is circular, but earlier the cambial ring is wavy in nature. Later it becomes circular. Okay. Further events are similar to those of dicotyledonous stem. That is, they produce towards the inner side, they are going to produce the secondary xylem, and towards the outer side, they are going to produce the secondary phloem. So, similar to the dicot stem, you notice that the vascular cambium is going to produce towards the inner side more of secondary xylem, and towards the outer side, less of secondary phloem. And so these things are similar to dicotyledonous stem. So secondary growth also occurs in certain stems and roots of gymnosperm. Secondary growth does not occur in monocotyledons because they have a closed vascular bundle and without cambium. They do not have any cambium. That is why we call it as closed vascular bundle in monocotyledonous plant. But secondary growth also occurs in stems and roots of gymnosperms. So if you look into this diagram, this is the early young dicot root. So you can notice that they are having this tetrarch condition of xylem alternating with phloem, so which is also tetrarch in nature. So now they have the pericycle above the protoxylem elements. So this pericycle, a few of this layer of pericycle, they differentiate to form secondary meristem, and this secondary meristem is wavy in nature, which we call it as the vascular cambium. Later they become circular. So this vascular cambium becomes circular, and this vascular cambium, it cuts off cells towards the inner side, and it is more of cells they cut towards the inner side. So which we call it as the secondary xylem, and towards the outer side they cut off lesser cells and we call it as the secondary phloem. So similar to the secondary growth in dicotyledonous stem, even here you notice the secondary growth happening in the roots. Only thing is the vascular cambium is arising from the pericycle, and this vascular cambium is completely secondary in origin, unlike in dicotyledonous stem, secondary growth in dicotyledonous stem, where it was partially primary in origin and partially secondary in origin. That is, the intrafascicular cambium was primary meristem, interfascicular cambium was secondary meristem. So that completes our discussion of this topic, anatomy of flowering plants. Okay, so what you can remember is I want you to write one more assignment for this. Differentiate between secondary growth in uh, the dicot stem and secondary growth in dicot root. So please make a column and write the differences between secondary growth in dicot stem and secondary growth in the monocot, uh, secondary growth in dicot root and secondary growth in dicot stem. So you have to write this differences between them. Okay, so two assignments for today. One is differentiate between the heartwood and sapwood, and the other one is differentiate between the secondary growth in dicot stem and secondary growth in dicot root. So I want you to differentiate these two things. And if you have any doubts or clarifications,